to provide information. And Robertson was heavily involved with all aspects of the higher echelon of the military, starting in 1941. So if anyone knew what was being observed during the war, it would have been Robertson.
So, do you think that they were also kind of keeping an eye on this for the idea that they were, this phenomena potentially might be again a threat against national security, or some other? They might have suspected that this was a new kind of weapon system developed by the Axis powers or something like that. Might that have been the case?
Are you talking about the Robertson panel report?
Well, I guess previously, before that, I guess we could go back a little bit further back in regards to why they became interested in the phenomena at all to begin with.
Well, I'd say first and foremost, the first thoughts that would have come across the intelligence operatives, the military commands, would have been, we are possibly dealing with an advanced technology, German technology.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they explored all conventional sightings as such, in terms of, I'm sure everything was looked at. Are we dealing with a new jet? Are we dealing with new ordnance weaponry? Are we dealing with something that has been put together by their scientists that exceeds what we currently are aware of? So the terminology Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon was used, because they could not always show that it was German. However, the documentation is so sparse, we don't know how much they actually knew, and of course that's why today is still considered a phenomenon during the war.
Yeah.
But putting what I saw available and how the RAF and the Americans were reacting within their intelligence memoranda, there was real confusion that took all the way to the end of the war.
Speaking about from or looking from the German point of view from this, I've heard many times that both the Axis power and the Allies kind of were looking at this phenomenon, suspecting that this belonged to the enemy, so to speak, and they were kind of very uncertain, what this is and so forth. Have you been able to look into, what the Germans thought that this was and so forth?
Yes. Unfortunately, again, I was not able to see official documentation, but I was able to speak with a veteran here in the States who, on January 1st, 45, had encountered a Foo Fighter over Germany. And at the time, he thought it was German technology used to track him, some type of tracking flare. But he was always curious why and how it could perform like it did and not appear on their radar.
Yeah.
If it was definitely a solid aircraft. So he was fascinated. The pilot of his aircraft went on after the war to believe that we were dealing with something far, far exceeding conventional wisdom, and he did not really believe it was German technology. But what the point is that after the war, this gentleman was attending a conference in Canada, and it was a lot of the aerospace industry personnel and were getting together, and they were, I don't mean aerospace, just the air industry.
Sure.
And they were getting together for a meeting, and at that meeting, an ex-intelligence officer of the 8th Air Force was brought in to talk about World War II. After it was over, the pilot walked up to the intelligence officer and said, well, you spoke about everything but the Foo Fighters. And the intelligence officer made a comment to him like, well, I didn't think anyone really would know what they were, but yes, I know quite a bit about the Foo Fighters. In fact, what happened with you? And so the pilot said, well, on January 1st, I had this sighting. He said, that's pretty amazing because I can specifically remembering at that time that we were interrogating captured German pilots, and they had mentioned seeing the same type of object. So that was the first time I heard personally through a veteran that that occurred. But
Mm-hmm.
once again, I haven't seen the official documentation, but
Sure.
everyone talks about it, and I'm hoping that there is a researcher out there to help bring this into play.
Interesting. Keith, we're actually approaching the end of our first hour here, but we'd love to continue our discussion with you and talk more in the subscriber section about, diving into a little bit more about the theories, perhaps, of what these things might be. Also talk about if any of the witnesses that you have spoken to have any ideas of what they might be, and if so, where they're coming from, or whatever it might be. So do you have time for us to continue?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Perfect. But before we do that, though, I want to leave the last couple of minutes here open to you so you can tell people who are interested in getting a copy of the book so they can dive themselves deeper into the research, how they would go about easiest getting a copy.
Okay. Well, I guess the best way would be internet. You could get on the Amazon.com or actually Anomalous Books. My book was put out by Anomalous Books, and that would be anomalousbooks.com. And that would probably be the easiest way. Type in my name, type in the book's title, Strange Company, Military Encounters with UFOs in World War II, and I don't think you'd have any trouble from there.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, I got it right here. anomalistbooks.com/chester.html. That's the best way to get on that website and get a copy. So, okay, let's take a short break right here, Keith. But we'll see you at the other side of the break. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Red Ice Creations Radio, and thanks to producer Fredrik Palmgren. Don't miss our excellent continuation of our discussion with Keith Chester, available in our members section. Tune in next Sunday when we have John Lash coming on the program. Until next time, take good care and all the best.